Let us understand what are IP addresses. IP addresses are otherwise called the Internet Protocol addresses. They are often said as a unique address, right? For example, if I want to send a postcard to you, right, I need your home address, isn't it? I just can't say John or David, America. Will it go to you? Will it reach you? No, not at all. Why would it not reach you? Because there are so many Johns and so many Davids in America, right? So if you say, if you want to post a letter to me, would it be possible that you say Vinod, India? No, it would not reach me at all, right? So the important thing that I want you to understand is you need to specifically mention a unique address, correct? You should say India, Tamil Nadu, Chennai, and in Chennai where? You understand? So likewise, you need to be very specific on the country, state, city, street, building, and the floor, and the specific door number, right? Once you say that, only then it will reach me, yes or no? Which means that for a postcard to reach me, it needs a unique address, correct? For a computer to communicate a data, if I send a data to you, for you to get that file, you also require a unique address. I also require a unique address. Yes or no? Okay, let us understand that. What are IP addresses? IP addresses are otherwise called the, as I told you, unique addressing technique, right? Okay, now let us understand types of IP addresses classes, right? What is a local host? What are private IP addresses? How many IP addresses are there? Example of how to access the IP address. This is the objective of the session, right? Let's understand how we are going to be saying that. Okay, the classes of IP addresses are A, B, C, D, and E, right? So consider classes D and E as for research and high-end classified requirements. They use the class D and class E. But for now, let us understand class A, B, and C is what we are going to be using it as a end user's requirement, like your system, my system requirements, right? Okay, class A, class B, and class C. If you notice, it says 1 byte, 1 byte, 1 byte, and 1 byte. As I told you earlier, right? How does the IP address look like? Let me open the notepad, right? It will look like this: A dot, B dot, C dot, D, right? Where the value can range from 0 to 255, which means the first IP address would be, and the last IP address would be this, right? Okay. Often, each of them have a speciality, right? Out of this this IP address is called the broadcast IP address, right? And this IP address is otherwise called the network IP address. Network IP or the domain IP. Okay. So let's not dig into that right now, but yes. How do I get to know my computer's IP? I will open up my command prompt from here. I open it. When I open it, it pops up a window like this. Here I say IP config. When I say IP config here, what happens? Please pay attention. It tells me this is my IP address. V4 IP address is this. V6 IP address that. Right? Let us understand. This is the IP address. Right? I want you to notice. Right? What is the first? So these are all called the 4 octets. Right? This is 1 octet. This is 1 octet. This is 1 octet, and this is 1 octet. What is that octet? Oct means 8, right? 8 bits equal to 1 byte. That is why it's called an octet. Am I clear? And interesting part is it is also called a 8-bit dotted decimal. You understand? 32-bit IP address is equal to IP V4. IP V4 address is always a 32-bit dotted decimal address, right? It has 32 bits of address that it could hold. 8-bit dotted decimal. Okay, now having said that, let us understand this. 192.168.1.16 is my computer's IP address. Let's understand. It says 192 is the first octet, right? Now this first octet, let us understand what is where does 192 come, right? Let us understand that, right? Here, if you notice, class C, it starts with 192.0.1.1. Yes or no? Which means that my IP address of my computer is a class C IP address. Am I clear? It's a class C IP address. Okay. And the interesting part is, with just the first octet, you will be able to identify if your computer is a class A, class B, or a class C IP address. Am I clear? Yes or no? Right? Okay. So why do we need a network ID and why do we need a host ID? Why? You know, it can be multiple reasons, but what is the reason why we have multiple network ID and the host ID? Let us understand that little in detail, right? So please pay attention to this very interesting screenshot, right? So I have mentioned with a daily or a real world example, okay? The first, okay, if you notice, it says my office phone number, right? The first line says my office phone number. Second one says my native place phone number of a friend of mine. Third one, my friend's village's phone number. Okay, there are 3 phone numbers that I have written, right? I want you all to pay attention. Okay, the first digit of all of them starts with a 0. So I negate it. For this example, I take it off, right? So other than that, if you notice, how many digits are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and a 10. Correct? 10 digits are there. So the interesting part is 10 plus actually 1, right? 10 plus 1. So 10, I will consider this 11 digit. But the interesting part is, why have I marked 044 and 4011 4040? Yes or no? Right? This is like this. Now the next one is 0462. Then I put a hyphen 2531832. Then I put 04114 261139. Do you notice something beautiful that's happening here? Right? If you notice the first one, right? This is the metropolitan city I stay. Okay. The second is my village. Third one is my friend's village, which is even more a tier 4 village, right? So first one is a tier 1, second one is tier 2, third one is say tier 3 village. So in this place, lot of people exist. Why? Because it's a metropolitan city. Here, not so much people exist. Here, not even that much exist. Are you able to follow what I'm saying? So the interesting part in here is, when I say lot of people exist, what do I mean? Looking at it, like, how can you say that? Please pay attention. We can say that because, say this is the phone number. Correct? How many digits are there? So the first digit would be like this. The last digit would be like this. Yes or no? So you tell me this, when they call this as a state code or the STD code, right? Subscribers trunk dialing code, yeah? And this is a phone number. So the interesting part is, the first STD code is the smaller the STD code becomes, the larger the number of phone numbers can be accommodated. If the population is more, they need to keep the STD code small. Am I clear? Likewise, in this example, What is the maximum number of phone numbers that could be allowed in this place? It can be only 6 nines. Here it can be 8 nines. Do you understand what I'm saying? So based on the population and the STD code differs. Likewise, right? Likewise, in a network, instead of a STD code, you have something called the network ID. Instead of the host ID, you have the IP address. Am I clear? So the lesser the host ID, right? The lesser the STD code, the more the phone numbers. The lesser the host, network ID, the more the host numbers. Am I clear? Excellent. That's a fundamental idea that I want you all to understand. If you notice, what is the code of India? India's ISD code is +91, right? Compared to another country, say US, North America, the whole continent, and the South America together is +1, right? So you understand the number of phone number dependencies are a lot more required there, right? Okay, let's go to the next one here. Please pay attention. When I say the class A, class B, and class C IP addresses, each classes, right, in this protocol, each classes, they have one series of IP address they have allocated as a private IP address, which means that our router, right, router is a device that simple. What is a router? Router is a device that is used to connect two or more networks, different networks, right? Okay, what does the router also know? Router knows that a private IP should not communicate to the internet directly. Do you understand? Can communicate through other means, but it cannot communicate directly using the IP address. Private IP address, right? What are the private IP addresses we are aware of? Class A, class B, and class C. Class A private IP address is 10.0.0.0, which means anything from 10.0.0.0 to 10.255.255.255. Am I clear? So any number of IP addresses that can come could be accommodated inside, right? Which means that the network ID is 10, the host ID is so many there, so you can accommodate so many. Which is my PC's class? My PC's IP address class is class C. So 192 dot, which means 192.168 dot is my class, right? My computer's network subnet class, which means the network ID is more, so the host ID is comparatively less than class A IP addresses. Am I clear? Okay. So I want you to understand 10.0.0.0 and 172.16.0.0 and 192.168.0.0. These are all the IP address series which are private IP addresses. These are all defined in the ISO itself. Am I clear? The TCP IP model itself has this defined. So they are all private IP addresses. Let us understand public IP addresses. What are public IP addresses? Please pay attention. How do I identify the public IP address of, say, google.com, right? I simply say ping, right? In command prompt, I say ping www.google.com. What happens? It is responding back with the IP address, correct? It is responding back with an IP address. For another example, let me also say it is responding back with the IPv4 address. Did you notice that? That's beautiful, isn't it? Likewise, I will also say AOL.com. Each of these are different IP addresses. Am I clear? Yes? That's wonderful. So, I want you to understand something very interesting in here, right? Public IP address usage, right? We are talking about 0.0.0, 128.0.0, 192.0.0.0, etc. Right? Please pay attention in this one. This screen, if you pay class A 1.0.0.1 to this is a class A. Class B, please pay attention from class A. Class A, what is the last IP address? What is the last IP address of this class A network? Please pay attention. this place, the last IP address that you could see in the class A is 126.255.255.254. It is 126 dot, right? By the way, class B, it is 128 dot. What happens to that 127 dot series in between? It is missed out, isn't it? Right? Excellent. Now, having said that that IP series is missed out, it means that it is representing its own self as 127.0.0.1. Look at this ping, local host. It means that I am pinging my own computer. Am I clear? Right? See, I also say 127.0.0.1, which is also the same IP. I also want you to know, instead of 1, I can say a 2. It will also represent the same computer. I can also say 5. It can also represent the same computer. I will say 254. Till that, it's all the same computer. Am I clear? Yes or no? Correct? So the important part in here is I want you to understand 127.0.0.1 to that 254 or 254. Yeah. So they are all called the local host. Am I clear? Okay. So we are talking about IPs, right? So what are we talking about? We are talking about IPv4. Likewise, we also have something called the IPv6. What is IPv4 and IPv6? Look at this IPv4. This is a high level picture for you to understand. In an IPv4 address, which is a 2 power 32 bit, as I told you, it's a 32-bit dotted decimal, right? 2 power 32, which means it is 4.29 crore IP addresses. Am I clear? Likewise, how many IP addresses does the IPv6 hold? IPv6 is 2 power 128, and the number of IPs it can accommodate is this much. So yeah, so that is about it. So in case any of you have questions regarding whatever I covered in this topic, feel free to connect back with me. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day.